Hello, this is Julie Chenot. I'm a program director for the Camargo Foundation. I hope you can all hear me. We'll spend an hour with all of you, with Julian McKinnon, who is also working on the program at the Camargo Foundation. Both of us explain you more about Camargo and about the program, and then we'll have a session with question and answer, so you can ask question. For the session with question and answer, you will have to type your question in, and then we'll answer all of them one by one, don't worry. And then in any case, if you have more questions afterward, you can always contact us by email, and we'll be happy to answer. But first of all, we'll spend more or less an hour together. During that hour, there will be different subjects we want to address. First of all, give you an overview of the foundation, the site, the location, then talk about this program specifically, the Camargo Core Program, the overview of the program, but then very specifically what you are interested about, which is the application process. And the selection process. And then, of course, we'll take some time to answer to your questions. But let's move back quickly to what is the Camargo Foundation. The Camargo Foundation was actually set up by an artist, and Jerome Hill was not only a filmmaker, as you can see, but he was also a painter and also a composer. He was an American artist, and he came in the 30s to France to study fine art, studied in Paris, and then came to south of France, to Cassis. He fell in love with Cassis and bought this property right above the sea in Cassis. And then just after the war in 45, they started to have it developed with the idea to bring and invite different artists to this place. And different friends. He also built an open air theater, and for a few years he had in the 50s and the 60s a festival about experimental music and experimental theater. At the end of his life, he said, okay, he decided to set up this foundation. He set up another foundation also in the US that some of you might know, called Jerome Foundation, which is supporting emerging artists in New York and Minnesota, more very specifically. But let's go back to Camargo Foundation. Camargo Foundation is located south of France in Cassis. You have here a map, so it can tell you a little more where it is in Europe and in France. It's really next to a city called Marseille, which is the second city of France. It's, as you can see on the picture, it's a small town. It's 7,000 inhabitants. It's a small harbor. It's really right next to the sea. It's in the center of a national park, the Les Calanques National Park. So you have, you can see some of the views that we took from this area, from this place. What you have to know is, so this is a small village, but it is in a metropole that is much bigger, of a few, 2 million inhabitants, and just 45 minutes away from Cassis, so from this small place where Camargo is located, you have Marseille, which is a 900,000 inhabitant city, which in the last few years have been really booming in regards to art, and there is a very big university also in Aix-Marseille, very specialized on the Mediterranean. So there is in Aix and in Marseille a lot happening throughout the year, and even if whenever you want to go, you are welcome to go there for attending events. Then I will move maybe, so the picture on the top on the right is Arles. Arles is a place that is an hour and a half away from here. It's also a very lively place with a huge international photo festival. Then I will move to give you more information about the campus, the place of Camargo. So those pictures that you will see appearing are all pictures taken here. The first picture on the left is a picture taken off Camargo from the harbor side. And then the other pictures are pictures from the campus itself. The campus is split in two parts. There is a seaside property, and just on the other side of the street, there is another property with a big building. We have different buildings with different, and with 13 apartments. And this on the bottom of the right, you can see the open air theater. The facilities we have actually, as I was just saying, 13 apartments. All the apartments are equipped with kitchen and bathroom. So residents coming here are fully independent with their own kitchen and bathrooms. They don't have to share them with other people. And then we have different facilities on site on top of those apartments, which is like a library with approximately 5,000 books there about French and Francophone humanities. Some are in French, some are in English. We have, for the artists, we have a visual arts studio. You can see a picture of this place. We have also, for composers, we have different places. We have a composer studio with a baby grand piano and some equipment. We can always, if needed, find some more equipment. So that's about the facilities, and don't hesitate. There are more pictures also on our website. And again, if you have more specific question, don't hesitate to ask us. Then I will move into the presentation of the program. I will just give you a brief overview of what is the program. This program, Camargo, since 2014 has been running different programs, but the Camargo Core Program is for us particularly important because that's really the program that was launched right from the beginning in 1971. It's really the flagship program from Camargo. It's a very important program for us that is really to provide time and space for 18 persons every year. Half are scholars and the other are thinkers, and the other half, the 9 others, are artists. We'll come back about the selection, the criteria for scholars, thinkers, and artists, and people that we have 2 sessions. It means that 9 of the fellows are coming in fall. It's for 2 months session, and the other half are coming in spring. Everybody arrive at the same time in spring, but as you will see, the fellows can select whether they want to come 6, 8, or 11 weeks. We'll come back to that, but it's really up to you when you apply to decide when you want to come and how long you want to come. That's really is nothing we'll decide. And it's really, as it is said, and I just said before, it's really, we provide you time and space to think, create, and connect, to exchange between you. There is no outcome like production expected from you at the end. Of course, we know that you will work and do a lot of things here, but we don't expect you to have, for example, a finished exhibition or book at the end. I will now pass on the floor to Julian, so you can change and hear someone else from the foundation. And Julian, go ahead.
Yes, hello. So I'm Julian McKinnon. I'm a program coordinator here at the foundation. I will briefly discuss about eligibility. So, eligibility for artists. Eligible artists are in all disciplines. So it means that you can work in any discipline, artistic disciplines. It can be creative writing, it can be choreography, theater, dance, visual arts. When you apply, you will have to choose between 6 different categories, and if you feel that you don't belong to a specific category, there is also multidisciplinary as a possible category that goes beyond discipline borders, let's say. So eligible artists have to be the primary creators of new work or a new project. And they need to have a fully developed, mature artistic voice. English is also required as a language. It means that the language of the program is English. The fellows between them, they communicate in English. It's also helpful sometimes to be able to communicate in French, but it's not required at all. Eligibility for scholars. So scholars are scholars in the arts and humanities. They are working on French and or Francophone cultures. They hold a PhD or they are PhD candidates completing the final stages of their research or writing of their dissertation. And as well, English is required. Eligibility for thinkers. So thinkers are professionals and practitioners in cultural and creative fields. This means they can be, for example, curators, they can be architects, urban planners, all that professions that are in creation and culture. And they are as well like scholars working on French and Francophone cultures. And they are attuned to both the theoretical arena, the arts, and also society. So they are like, let's say, they are a sort of connection between research, like theoretical research, artistic creation, and also society. So they are able also to speak to a wide audience, let's say. English language is also required for thinkers. What about eligibility for collaborative projects? So collaborative projects, up to 3 persons are admitted, but 1 member has to be designed as the official recipient of the fellowship. 1 stipend is available for the 3 persons, so the 3 persons will have to divide 1 stipend. And 1 apartment, 1 big apartment with more than one bedroom will be given to the team. Eligibility for translation projects. So when the applicant is the author of the text of the work, so applicant will have to apply in the artist category. When the applicant is not the author of the text, the applicant will have to apply either in the scholar category or in the thinker category. Eligibility for former fellows. So former fellows are eligible to apply after 3 years after the previous fellowship. At the same time, first-time applicants are given preference. So first-time applicants will rather be selected compared to former fellows. So the purpose of the residency. Residents are here to essentially to research, experiment, and create. So they can work either on a specific project or a specific area of inquiry. And they can work either on a focused work or more open-ended exploration. As Julie mentioned before, there are no production obligations. So the only thing that residents are expected to do and to participate is the project discussion that we organize every week during the core program. We will discuss these project discussions later. The purpose of the residency. So the main purpose of the residency is to research and create, as we mentioned, but also another purpose is to exchange and network between fellows, for example, during the project discussions, or through formal and informal links with the region. So during the residency, Julie and myself and everybody at Camargo will provide, for example, contacts with other professionals in the region working in the same field of the fellow, or a professional will be invited to participate to the project discussions of the fellows, etc. What about the duration, the stipend, and accommodation? So the duration, as Julie mentioned before, we have 2 sessions, one in fall, which lasts 8 weeks. So in 2018 will be from September 11 to November 6. In spring, we have 3 options, either 6 weeks from February 26 through April 9, 2019, or 8 weeks from February 26 to April 23, 2019, or 11 weeks from February 26 to May 14, 2019. What about the stipend? So $250 are available a week, and transportation to and from Cassis. So for the fellowship will include also transportation to Cassis and from Cassis. Additional funding is also possible. It means that if the fellow has additional opportunities that doesn't take time from his residency, he will be able to accept this funding. As Julie mentioned before as well, accommodation, we have 13 apartments in campus, and one fellow or team will be given one apartment. It is also possible to come with family members. Partners are welcome, and also children that are at least 6 years old upon arrival. What about the application process? So to apply, you will have to apply through an application form, which is online on Submittable, which is our online management software. The deadline to apply is October 17, 2017 at 6 p.m. in New York City. It will be midnight in France. To apply, you will have to provide a proposal narrative explaining your project and giving the outline of the project. A rationale saying why Camargo, so you will have to justify in this specific part of the application why Camargo and not any other, for example, residency place in Europe or internationally. Why is Camargo important to develop your project, and specifically this foundation or this region? And the other rationale in the other rationale, you will have to explain why now. So why you think that you need a residency in this specific moment of your career. Another element of the application will be the CV, which will have to be no longer than 3 pages. And then artists will have to provide work samples. And finally, 2 references. And applicants that will be able to get to the final stages of review, they might be asked to provide 2 letters of recommendation from the references that they already provided in this part of the application form. What about the selection process? So we have 2 selection committees, one for artists and one for scholars. And at the end of the selection process, those committees, they get together, at least few members of each committee, they get together to discuss the final selection of the year. And the selection process is somehow selective. The program is very competitive. We receive around, let's say, 1,000 applications each year. It might be more this year, and we only have 18 slots like fellowship to provide. So as you might see the process, it is very selective. The applicant shouldn't expect the answers before April 2018. The application process will take from November 2017 to April 2018. What about the selection criteria? So the first criterion is the quality of the proposal. The second is the professional accomplishments of the applicant. The third is the links between the proposal and Camargo. So why your project has a link to Camargo, and the relevancy between the residency and the relevance of a residency at this specific stage of the career of the applicant is the fourth and final criterion. So I don't know if Julie, you want to add anything to this discussion. Otherwise, we can open to questions.
No, I think you gave. I mean, you gave the general presentation of what is the Camargo Core Program, and is by now more interesting to go directly to your question. So if you like to ask question, you have to type them in the chat section, a chat window, and then we'll take them one by one and answer them. The first question that we got right now was, how do you define a developed and mature artistic voice? I mean, that's a really good question. we realized in the past few years that we got a lot of people that were more like student or very like pre-emerging artists applying. And we know that we know that those persons won't make it through the selection process. So it's also a question, we really need people, and we know also that this site, Camargo Foundation, the way it is organized, whether the program is, the location being in a small town and not in a major city, just like it's not far, but it's still not in Marseille. It's much more, it's much better for people that have already some experience, that know already a little where they want to go with their art and with their thought. So that's why this year, in order to prevent like people that are still students in art school, we decided to be a little more precise in the guidelines, and this is mentioned. Do you want to take the next one, Julian, or do you want me?
I can
Translation project.
I can take the next question. Is somebody who's asking about a translation project. He's saying that he would like to translate a classic science fiction novel from 1914. This is the first translation ever of the work. It would be accompanied with full editorial notes, but presented in a mass market format and marketed as a genre fiction in the USA and UK. Would this better fit as a scholar project because it will be edited seriously with an essay after text, or a thinker project because it's a creative translation and will be marketed to a wide science fiction audience? In this specific case, I have the feeling that this application would probably better fit the thinker category because of the creative aspect of the translation, and also because of the potential impact on, let's say, society and like a wider public.
The selection committee for the thinkers and the scholars is actually the same. The form is also, the application form is also the same. And the selection committee is the same person. So it's just so we can, like when the selection committee goes through the process of reading all the application, that they can know which one are scholar, like, and which one are thinker, that they are not mixed together. On the second, another question, the next question is about the size and the format of the attachment and all the documents. On the narrative proposal, there is a very clear limit to the number of words, and Julian, maybe you can say it, I think.
Yes, about the word limit, it also has slight difference. The scholars and the artist doesn't have the same word limit. I'm trying to find, the internet is not working very well here. I'm trying to open the submittable form.
The word limit for when you apply as an artist is 1,000, but then when you apply as scholar and a thinker, you have to put an attachment of 3-page max.
Yes.
And then there are formats for pictures and everything. Just be careful when you attach photos. The selection committee is looking at those photos online, so there's no need to attach huge size images or attachment, like, because if not, it's difficult to view them. And in any case, they will not, it's not for printing, it's really just to view them online. They will look at them, everything online. The question about...
yes, I just wanted to add, Julie, all the word limits are available on the application form on Submittable. So if you want to know specifically the length of the text for each category, you will just need to open the submittable link and like see on the application form all the details are already on the application form, and you just need to fill in the application form.
Maybe we have a question here from Hikitikita Ita. I'm not sure about what you mean by 2 documents. Are you mentioning that you said 2 applications, 2 documents, or 2 projects in 1 application? We want people to submit only 1 application. They can, within that application, put a major project and a secondary project. Like we got, for example, in the past, a visual artist, João Mode from Brazil. He had applied with 1 main focus research, which was about essence and smell, and how to work on essence and smell in visual arts installation. His second project was about, and it was all in the same application and the same proposal. He said, at the same time, I will be coming and I have to work on a solo exhibition that I will have in Rio the year after. So that's something we totally accept. We understand that most of the people, they usually work on they have a first focus, but they might have a secondary one. And if that's not the right, if I did not understand well your answer, please just send a new chat. The next one, Julian, do you want to go ahead with?
So another artist is asking, as an artist, is the light through color relationships that intrigue me to attend Camargo? Is this specific reason enough to want to attend? Unfortunately, us as staff, we cannot answer like very specifically this kind of questions, because it's the committee that has to wait to evaluate the quality of the proposal, but also the quality of the compelling reasons to be at Camargo and the compelling reason to do a residency at this specific stage of your career. It also depends on how the proposal is written and how you manage to argue and to be specific in your project on about the reason to be here. And of course, there are many reasons, like the specific light of the region could be a reason enough to want to be at Camargo. But it really depends on how you articulate this in your proposal and how the committee evaluates the proposal itself.
And of course, I mean, as we can tell you that those questions, why Camargo and why now, are at the end in this last section, last moment of the selection, when when the jury is getting to the best project. I mean, the one that they judge as the best for this program. Those questions tend to be really important. So it's important to think about them and to not answer only by one line, but have a real narrative to that. The next question is about whether there is any impact on the chance of being selected, whether someone applies for fall or for spring. No, that's something we really look only at the end with the selection committee, when they already have selected the last person, the person they want to give the fellowship to. Then we look at that, so it doesn't impact. Julian, do you want to answer the next one?
Yes, the next one is about film. I'm sorry, there is someone ringing the bell. Excuse me. So filmmakers, as the work samples, they can submit up to 3 work samples. So you can actually send several work samples in film, up to 3.
Next question is about whether our jury is changing each year. Indeed, our jury part of it is changing. The panelists. We have 6 panelists on the artistic and 6 panelists on the scholar thinker committee, and each panelist is appointed up to a maximum of 3 years. Every year we have usually two persons that are rotating, sometimes three. But yeah, it's changing. Next question, Julian.
Does the criteria of links between proposal and Camargo have any relation to the question why Camargo? Yes. So as Julie mentioned before, the fourth criterion is the third criterion is why Camargo, like the relationship between the proposal and the area and the Camargo Foundation. So yes, the links between the proposal and Camargo, they have a relation with the question why Camargo. There is another question from filmmakers. I said that already that the three work samples, 3 videos are accepted for up to 3 films for filmmakers. Also work in progress is accepted. And the last part of the question is 20 minutes in one piece. Actually, we recommend to provide the shorter links, also because sometimes for the committee it can be very time consuming and very tiring to watch very long videos, for example. So we suggest to send for example 3 work samples but a bit shorter.
Oh, what is the 4th criteria? Wait a minute, I'm gonna check it back. Selection process. It was the relevance of the residency at this specific stage of your career. So really why it makes sense to do it now for you. You want to go ahead with the next one?
Yes, next question is someone who is both an artist and an architect with theoretical component as well. Should they apply as multidisciplinary artist or thinker? It depends also on the kind of project that the applicant intends to develop while at Camargo. If the project is more research oriented and with a very strong component, a theoretical component, I would recommend to apply as a thinker. But at the same time, I want to remind all the participants that if you apply as a thinker, you need to have a connection with French and Francophone cultures. So it also depends on this eligibility criterion, because as we mentioned before, the artists, they don't need this specific link with France or the Francophonie, while scholars and thinkers, they need to have a connection with French and Francophone cultures. So this is another thing to keep in mind.
About meals provided, the next question is about whether meals are provided by Camargo, or do fellows prepare their own meal. The apartments are coming with kitchen and private kitchen and private bathroom. The idea is really that, yeah, each of the fellows can prepare their own meal. They can, they're really free to eat what they want at the time that they want. They can organize their days the ways they want, rather than having fixed time for meals. Of course, every week there will be at least 1 and sometimes 2 project discussions. So it's a gathering for one of the fellows to present to the others his or her projects and discuss and exchange. It's quite informal discussions followed by question and answer, and then a drink with some simple food. In the same person is Gerald is also asking about letters. The letters. We used to ask for a letter of recommendation right at the beginning when people were applying. We decided, and discussing with some of the panelists told us, yeah, maybe, and some of the fellows that came here said, well, you know, those letters is a lot of work to get them, and we have to apply to a lot of things, and we always get, it's tricky to always ask letters. So we decided to say, okay, give us like, we want to ask for letters right from the beginning. We just want to have referees, and towards the end, really, we might ask, and we might really, for the last stage of the selection process, we might ask for letters. The next question still from Gerald was, if a project involves visiting sites in the media, are brief absence from Camargo, okay, yes, it's possible. Of course, fellows are expected to be here most of the time, but if it is like to go, I don't know, like every 2 weeks to go for a couple of days away, that's no problem, as long as the fellow doesn't miss any project discussion. Those project discussions are announced long time in advance, and they're usually on Monday and Wednesdays.
Okay, so now there are several questions about why Camargo, and what does it mean to have a connection between the project and Camargo. Actually, there are like many different possible answers to this question. There is not a right answer to the question. The one possible answer is about possible interactions between the project and the region. So, for example, the possible interaction between the project and professionals in Marseille, cultural institutions in Marseille, or the region. It can be, for example, how the project is related to the area, let's say. Another possible answer to this question could be, for example, that Camargo, the core program, is a place where many different persons with different backgrounds working in different disciplines on different projects are together, and this group that comes here in the same moment for the Camargo Core Program can interact also in interesting ways, and this could be, for example, something important in order to develop a project. So this could be also a possible answer. As you see, there are many possible layers of answer to this question. It's just important for us that there is somehow a relevancy between the project itself, the proposal, and the foundation. But as Julie said before, this is not the first criterion of the selection process. The committee is asked to evaluate proposal first through quality criterion, so the quality of the proposal itself. Then the second criterion, I will say it again, is the professional accomplishments of the applicant. So, for example, his CV or the work sample, etc. And only as a third criterion, we have the connections of the project with Camargo. So you also are asked to use somehow a bit of originality answering these questions, because we receive, for example, many applications that are saying that the main reason to be here is to have the sea and to be close to the sea. This is, of course, a possible important answer, but you have to somehow justify this answer in a compelling and relevant way.
There is another question about how much experience is expected from visual artists. As I was just saying, I mean, and we really, Camargo is not a place for people that are really very early stage of their career. It's a lot of the artists that have been selected in the last few years, and the way we see when people are here, most of them, I would say, are mid-career artists in the visual arts. But it depends. Some years the selection committee will say, okay, let's go for someone else, and let's go. There's like a few years ago they selected a filmmaker, Ananta Krishnan, who was very early stage of his career. I would say he had done a few short films, but no long films. He had been presented. He's Indian and had been at a few presentation and showing abroad, but not that many compared to some of the people that we have here. It's really depending also on the project, but for sure, a very early stage, I would say the selection committee will not go for that. The connection, the next question about the connection of the project, I think Julian has been answering already, like quite at length to this question. There is a question now about linked possibility to work with people in the area, like students. Do you want to go ahead, Julian?
Yes, of course. Staff at Camargo will be very happy to provide possible connections and contact information with other professionals in the area, and also students for example, university students, but also younger students in local schools in Cassis or the area. Sometimes fellows are happy to engage in this kind of activities. Sometimes fellows, they need to really focus on their own project and they want to isolate a little bit more. Everything is possible. As we said before, the only obligation for the residents here, for the fellows of the core program, is to attend the project discussions. Other than that, the fellows are really free and welcome to organize the residency as they wish, in order to work as in the best way on their own projects. And if they feel that, for example, encounters with students, university students in Marseille, or colleagues, professors might be interesting for them, of course they are very welcome to, and we will do our best to put everybody in contact.
About the thinkers and visual work samples, maybe you can answer, Julian.
Yes, the question is, for thinkers with visual work samples, do you recommend including imagery as part of the CV or as a part of the project proposal? So if you want, you can add the images as part of the project proposal. This is totally possible. We recommend to do that if the images are related to the content of the proposal. Otherwise, if the images are more related to previous work that the applicant has done before, but they don't have necessarily anything to do with the proposal itself, it is better to include these images as part of the CV. We have flexibility for the CV in this case, because we said that CV has to be no longer than 3 pages. This is true for all applications, but with thinkers, they can actually add few images, for example, to the CV, and so they don't have to respect the 3-page limit if they add and attach images to the CV.
Next question is about an Indian scholar working on the First World War in Marseille and the Indian soldiers during this period. That's indeed totally something that will make sense. It's very much linked to Francophone and to France. So that's totally a project that would be eligible. So yeah. Go ahead. The work samples for composers, yes, and we need scores and we need audio or video links, but we need a sample of a score. The composer we have on the artistic committee, someone who is a composer or someone who is really working with composers. So that person is always looking at the scores also, as well as listening to the samples online. You want me to go for the...
Yeah, you can go ahead, Julie.
The kind of networking and exchange events opportunities available during the program. So as Julian was saying, you have the project discussions that are something that you have to, like fellows will have to attend. But then for those who are interested, we are really willing to really look at, discuss with the fellows and check who might make sense to meet in this area, being either from the art or being from the scholar field or being like just also simple inhabitants. Or I've been working here for 10 years in this area. I used to work for the European Capital of Culture in Marseille for 7 years. So I have quite a wide network of contact in this area. She has been often used to work at the SEM before, the National Museum in Marseille. Cécile, also the other person from the team, the administrator, has been also working in Marseille for different organizations. So yeah, we are really, it's really optional. It's like if someone wants to meet, we are really happy to make connection. Next question about writer.
Question is a writer and composer, and he says that his project is mixing the 2 disciplines, writing score of language and then add instruments. Am I able to apply the same projects in 2 categories, or do I have to choose? If the project is mixing the two disciplines, I would recommend to apply as in the multidisciplinary category, which is the category where like artists that are working at the same time in different disciplines, they can apply with a project that is actually as mixing two different disciplines. So writing and composition, they can really well go into the multidisciplinary category.
For the next question is about the spring residencies and the length of the residency. During the spring session, we have 3 choices, 6, 8, and 11 weeks. Is nothing the jury will look at, and it's nothing that they will consider, and it's really us. And usually what's happened is then when the fellows are selected and they say we want to come in spring, and in the application forms they indicate 6, 8, or 11, we tend to go back to them and say, okay, you have been selected. You mentioned that you wanted to come for 11 weeks, for example, in spring. Do you still want to come that length, or do you want to come 6 or 8? We really go back and so there is not the part of the consideration of the selection committee. When the next question, maybe I can go ahead with it. When someone applies as a team with 2 people, or it is possible to present the 2 people on the application form. In the application form, it should be one person apply, like one lead person applying, and then when there is a CV, you should upload the 2 CVs, or one file with the 2 CVs inside. Of course, in this case, the file can be twice 3 page, and can be 6 page. So each person can have a CV of 3 page, but there should be one lead person. You want to go ahead?
Yes, the next question is, will there be experts in the committee of every humanistic discipline, for example, even in the history of music? So the scholar committee is composed by 6 members, and these 6 members, they come from a wide variety of different disciplines. They make research in different institutions and universities in the US and internationally in Europe. We cannot say that they are in every single humanistic discipline, because we would have like a huge community. But we try to have at least every big area, let's say, of research that is respected within the committee. So there are, for example, historians. There are historians that are more focused on contemporary history, historians that are more focused on the like medieval history. We have political a part of the committee which is more focused on political science. Another part of the committee, another member of the committee, history of art and all the philosophy of aesthetics, etc. And Julie, I don't know if you want to add a few words about the composition of the scholar committee.
No, I think you can. I mean, also online you have the selection committee from last year. And you have the 6 members that are presented online with a short bio, so you can know more about each of them. Of course, as I was mentioning, some members will change, so it won't be exactly the same next year. But it can give you an idea of who they are. I see that we have only 10 minutes officially to go, and there are so many questions still. So maybe we'll go a little quicker answering to your question, and just answer to the questions that are very different from the one before. There's a question about the photographic facilities. It's a black and white studio. It's a very simple studio. It has like black and white equipment. It's like a 1 meter by 2 meter black and white studio. Is part of the visual artist studio. So the jury, yes, we have answered with it. the eligibility for scholars and thinkers about having a project that is related to French and Francophone culture, it's really like very, I mean, for example, we received in the past very interesting application, I think about, I think it was about Egypt, but it was nothing related to French or Francophone. It was very much about a period of Egypt that was nothing, and there was no mention at all about possible links to Francophone or French culture. Then the project was great, but that was not eligible. We have some from time to time. Last year we had exactly the same with another project. We were like, the selection committee was no, oh no. It was about something about Scandinavian culture, but that's not possible. A very good writer. The apartments, yes, they are provided free of charge. That's really like fellows are receiving an apartment free of charge, plus the per diem of $250 a week, plus international, like the transport from and to Cassis. How many applications do we receive? Last year, we received a little more than 1,000 applications. The 2 years before, we had approximately 600. That if you look, for example, at last year, we had 200 scholar thinker applicants, and the rest were artists, mainly visual artists and creative writers. Do you want to answer to Renata's question?
Yes, so which category is best for a collaboration of a visual artist and artistic director? It really depends on the project they intend to develop while at Camargo. If the project is more, let's say, a collaboration that needs a lot of research and thinking, let's say, that would be more of a thinker project, but again, it will need a link with French and Francophonie. But if it is a more visual art project, they are free to apply as a visual artistic duo.
For the next question about letters, we letters of recommendation. We don't want at this stage letters of the first stage of application. We don't want letters of recommendation. We just want some names of possible referees, and it's only if the selection committee wants letters of recommendation that will go and ask for a letter of recommendation. Really, and again, really at the last stage of the selection process, and we might not. If the committee doesn't ask for it, we won't do it. It can be from academic, it can be from anybody that can really like talk about your work, the seriousness of your work, and has been working with you lately and knows very well about your work. So it can be an academic, being an academic can be an academic, but could be like, as you were asking, someone more working music.
So
the landscape and for a visual artist was work that is very much connected to landscape and land use issues, asking whether we work a lot, we have connection with the national park. We actually have a program with the national park and the university. That is a residency program that we'll have early next year for 8 artists. So yes, we have strong connection with the national park and work with them very often. PhD candidate, Julian.
So PhD candidates, are you only interested in hearing about the final stages of the dissertation project, or would it be relevant for the applicant to discuss ideas for projects beyond the dissertation? So no, the question is very interesting. We accept applicants that are at least they hold a PhD already, or they are working on the final stages of their PhD research and dissertation. But if they intend to work at Camargo on something else other than the PhD dissertation, that's totally possible. We just put this requirement of the PhD as a limit, because we don't accept like students that are earlier in their career. But if a PhD student that is working on his dissertation is willing to work also on a parallel project that is beyond the dissertation, that is also possible.
You want to answer to the next one?
The next question, would a first-time novelist who has published shorter work be considered an artist with a mature artistic voice? It could, yes. It also depends on the novels that he or she published before. But of course, yes, the novels are considered like acceptable work samples, and also in the CV are totally acceptable. For example, we also had former fellows here that are mainly novelists, and that they work mainly on short stories, and they never worked on like longer book projects. So yes, the short stories is totally accepted as work samples and in the CV as well.
The next question is about whether when it's a team application, can one of the collaborators leave before or not be there the entire length of the residency? Yeah, the lead applicant, so the person in the team that would be the lead person, should be here the entire time. Then if one of the collaborators, if it is a team of 2 or 3 and one person needs to leave 1 week before, that's for us okay, as long as the lead person will stay the entire time. We don't want, like in a team, someone come at the beginning and then like only 2 of them are going to be here and then 3, and it's important. It's also because it is important for the exchange through the residency period. There are regular exchange with the project discussion, but also very informal discussion between all the residents. And so this is really part of the experience of the residency. And it's like, there is, for example, now a film director, Aline Fisher, and she said, usually she only gets feedbacks mainly from film sector people, and they all tell her, yeah, your project is too complex, and like you have to work. And this time she's with different people, scholars and other artists, and they give her very different feedbacks and they approach her work very differently. There are some of the current fellows that are also scholars that are very knowledgeable about film and the type of film she's referring to, she's working on. So that's why, and we can really feel that it's through the period it will build up, and exchanges will nourish each other. So 1 week is okay, but the lead person should be there all the time. You want to go ahead?
Yes, so the last question is Gerald, who's saying, I'm an active publishing scholar who retired from teaching in 2015. Does this retirement count against me? I hope not, because it has given me time to pursue opportunities like Camargo. So no, actually there is no problem with the fact that an applicant has retired. Scholars are eligible even after retirement, and the experience that they manage to have also after the retirement is very, very important for us as well. So it's totally eligible and free to apply.
Next question is about the fish artwork that is on the wall behind me. No, it's actually the entire collection on site in Camargo is part of the collection of the founder, Jerome Hill. There are paintings everywhere, or drawings everywhere in the building and in the apartments. All of them are from his collection. Half of them probably are from Jerome Hill himself. The other half are friends or people that he had artwork from. So no, it's not. We don't ask residents and former and fellows to leave artwork here. No.
Another question: can someone meaning to make a documentaire on me working stay in the eventual apartment? Yes, people that work on with the fellows on the project, they are welcome to stay in the fellows apartment. As Julie said before, we have different, like the size of the apartments changes a lot between apartments. So this is totally feasible in the bigger apartments. It might be a bit more tricky in the smaller apartments where there is only one bedroom. The collaborator might have to sleep with the fellow, but otherwise, yeah, collaborators are well, or like partners, and are welcome to stay with the.
Next question, it's about whether the person would wanted to have more connection and information about the national park. I mean, we can be in touch about discussion about it. Then usually what we do is more we give connection when the fellows are selected, not that all the applicants start to get into contact with the national park or with contact with we have. But I'm happy to discuss with you about your project, and I will tell you more about the type of about the national park. I mean, we work really a lot with them, so I now spend really a lot of time with them and know quite well about it and about different people that are working there, or different information and research that they have. I don't see any more question coming in, and I think we are at the end of the question. I don't know if any of you have, please type them in, and Julian or I will answer with pleasure. If not, in any case, you have the contact email online. A few more questions. In any case, you have our email address online and on the guidelines. So it will be either Julian or I answering. So don't hesitate if you have more after that chat. After this webinar, you can still go ahead, and don't hesitate also to give us feedback on the webinar. It's the first time we do it, actually. That's the first year we do it. Is there a theater group close by? I would say that the theater groups in Cassis, there will be an amateur troupe, but then there are, of course, a lot of theater companies, both in Marseille, in Aix, but also in Toulon. So everything is like 45 minutes, an hour away. Do we have good contact with authorities? Depends which authorities, like that way. We have very good contact with Cassis being a small town, a village. Yes, we have good contact in Cassis. We have some contacts, and depending on which sector and which department we have contacts. Good or some contacts with other people in the area. It's difficult. Just be more specific. If you would like to add an accomplishment achieved. Can you answer, Julian, to that question?
If you would like to add an accomplishment achieved after the application has been submitted, is this possible? Yes, you just need to, on Submittable, you will see you are able to ask for an edit request. So you just have to ask for, like, we will open the application again for editing, and you will make the necessary edits before the deadline, so before October 17, and then the application, we will need to close again the application. After October 17, the application won't be open for editing anymore, because we will need to go through the selection processes, and we won't be able to update the applications anymore.
The question about the open air amphitheater. The open air, it has been used, and it is used as a venue. It is there for the two things, fellows. So if you are selected, the open air amphitheater is available for use. We have, for example, currently a choreographer, Jasmine Earn, was here as a partnership, as part of a program we have in partnership with Camargo Foundation and Movement Research. And she is, for example, practicing daily in the theater. We don't, as Camargo, we don't produce or we don't present work, but from time to time we work with organizations in the area and host with them at concerts or usually concerts or talks in the theater, and those are open to public. To involve local performance or composer of the region is the project. Yes, if that makes sense. If you are, for example, We have one composer, Christopher Trapani, will be coming this next spring. He's actually in contact with the Contemporary Center, Contemporary Music Center in Marseille, the GMEM. I don't think he will work with composers there, but he has some partnership with them. So yeah, if you have contacts and you plan to say, yeah, I want to work with that musician or that composer also, that's part of the reason why Camargo, why you want to come here, and you should include it in your project proposal. Is it possible to put a performance as part of the project at Camargo? Camargo is not a place, we don't expect to have finished work at the end. So we don't expect applicants, fellows, when they come to present a finished work. Also, we don't have, Camargo is not I would say, the theater is, the venue is, this open air theater is a beautiful place, but we don't have, for example, at Camargo, we don't have like all the equipment, light and sound equipment to present, present in a performance and to make it professionally, let's put it that way. We have, for example, also some other another venue that has been used in the past for exhibition, but is not really the best way to present and to work that of fellows. So what we often present work in progress, but to present a finished work, except if it is a tailor-made work for this theater, it's better to go to another place, like to do it in Marseille or another place. But just, I mean, be aware that it's more, here Camargo is more a place to do research, to work on first stage, or to resident to work on finishing a performance, for example, because we don't have here the proper professional sound and light for that. How many fellows are there at the same time? So the sessions are usually the fall session in a year will cite 18 fellows or 18 project teams, 9 scholar of thinker and 9 artists. It will be 9 person, half of them will come in at the fall sessions, the other half at the spring session. We always try our best to mix, so they are in each session artists and scholars and thinkers. So it's really mixed, not like too many artists or too many scholars and thinkers in one session. On top of that, as we were saying, there are actually 13 apartments. So and at the same time than the core program fellows, there will be other programs going on with other residents coming. For example, at the moment, there are 2. So 2 is choreographer Jasmine Earn with movement research and Jerome Foundation that is here for a 1 month residency. And they are a team, Eric Maestri, who is a composer, and Laura Audasso, who is a scholar. And they are here as part of a program we have with Aix-Marseille University for teams of artists and scholars applying together. So yeah, at the same time, there will be other people. Then so we have 13 apartments. It might be couples, like people are welcome to come with their partners, their spouse. So usually we are between 10 and 15, 20 on site, max 20. Is there a collaboration between Camargo and the University of Marseille? Yeah, we have a collaboration with, so this program I was just talking about for teams of artists and scholars. This is with specific sectors from the human sciences and social sciences focusing on the Mediterranean. It's with something called the LabEx Med. It's headed by someone, I don't know if the person knows about this area, but Karina, if you know, but it's headed by the Maison Méditerranéenne des Sciences de l'Homme and someone called Brigitte Marin. So that's one part of the university we're working with in more social and human sciences related to the Mediterranean. The other part, the project we are doing with the national park, we're actually doing it also with the university, but another department which is called the Observatory of the Science of the Universe, which is it's a group, it's called PTAS Research Institute, and within there are 5 research departments. It's coming from the study of the sea to the astrophysics, also studying the plants, the biodiversity, the implantation of human and relation between human and nature. And we are currently talking also with another part of the university called, well, actually another human and research center, EHES is the School for Human and Social Sciences in France, that has an antenna in Marseille, which is also related to Aix-Marseille University. So we have some links. Any other question? If not, I guess if you have more questions, just send us an email and we can answer by email. Thanks a lot for attending and for all your questions. And we'll post also this webinar online, so people who could not attend or could only attend part of it can view it again. And then talk to you soon. Julian?
Thank you very much, everybody, for attending, and we are here to answer your questions by email whenever you want, and looking forward to reading your projects.
Yes. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye.